What's up, people? So today I'll be sort of combining two topics together as I'm actively, I'm actually actively learning both, but one particular subject more than the next is kind of an introduction to me, which is shadow work, and it's an interesting concept because at first I wanted to make a video on acceptance and how acceptance is a very very powerful tool. And then today, through somebody on Facebook, was I given the idea to look up shadow work. And sorry, throat is very itchy. So to look up shadow work, and basically what shadow work is, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Your shadow self is that part of you that's kind of been figuratively buried in a sense. And I guess through past rejections and just you being shy, being coy, you kind of keep that away from everybody, and you kind of just keep it to yourself. And some would argue that that's pretty much a solid idea, or it wouldn't hurt you. I would beg to differ. Excuse me. Damn. So I would beg to differ, and one of the first things that come to mind as to why something like that could hurt you is that you put yourself in a position to be a shadow of yourself, a shell of yourself, by not bringing that zest that makes you to to your everyday life. And I understand it's not an easy thing to do. I understand because I'm doing shadow work for a reason. Um, but it needs to be done. There are a lot of people in this world who get coined as bold or fearless or whatever is because they walk in their truth. And I think one thing that's important to understand is that if anybody is going to make you feel uncomfortable for walking in your truth, it's going to be somebody who's not walking in their truth, okay? And so when you're able to identify certain things, it kind of empowers you a little bit because you understand, like, it's not a problem. It's not your problem. It's their problem. Their problem is that they're afraid to walk in their truth. Afraid, fear. And if you don't want to be moved by fear, then you understand what you must do, which is going to be the opposite of what these fearful people are doing. And I'm talking about these people who are in the bird cage, looking at the birds on the outside of the cage, on the outside of the window outside, looking at this bird and saying, this bird is going to ruin it for all of us, or this bird is stupid, or whatever it is, making a fool out of themselves. Meanwhile, look where they are, in a safe confine where nobody's really happy, but they think they're free because, or that they're well off because they are seemingly out of the reaches of judgment, as if that's as if that doesn't come with a burden of its own. Because it's like, if you are leading a life where you aren't being judged to some degree, it just feels like you're coloring inside the lines. If you look around and you say, well, nobody's being hurt by this, well, then you need to look in the mirror, because that person could very well be you. And so some of the things that I'm learning that can help with shadow work is the reason why it's kind of a crossover is acceptance. Accepting the things that you can't change, and accepting the things that you can change, and accepting the way that you feel, not just burying it, but accepting these things so you can resolve to reach a certain solution, to reach a definite solution, to put you in a better position that you are in right now. And I understand how not accepting all of who I am, even though I can tell myself, yeah, I carry things like this, I'm all authentic and things like that. But anyway, I understand that by not accepting all that I am, it's hurting me. And now I'm at a point in my life where I have to accept all that I am, or I won't get to where it was destined for me to be, where I'll never see all of what life has for me, and I'll just be on the sidelines watching people who had more balls, who had more bravery to go after, what matters to them, what's important to them. All right. So, so I'll give you an example. Um, One thing that a lot of you don't know about me is that I've always been a fan of music, a fan of making music. And through many means did I not put out as much music as I wanted to. And I'll have you know, short story is that I did get back to doing it. I never stopped writing, but I got back to recording. So because of procrastination and I guess lack of resources and feeling like, oh, what's the point, or just whatever it is. Well, all of those things, and more importantly, uh, I was so protective of that element of me that I didn't really want anybody to take a peek, and I didn't really want anybody to like. I didn't want to put it in anyone's face where they could judge me. That ultimately, I stopped seeing the importance of of doing it. I stopped getting motivated to create it. It didn't feel good just keeping it all to myself. And this year, I had decided to get serious about mixing and mastering, and doing the whole engineering thing, and do it from home and stuff like that. And so I'm a little bit all over the place, but I feel like I need to cover as many bases as possible to show you how I got to this point. And so I started going to the studio to begin the year. Ultimately, that studio got shot up, and people who know me and love me encouraged me to not go back. And so then I was kind of in a position where it's like, okay, maybe I could find a new studio, but it could get rather expensive per hour. Or I can kind of go back to an interesting idea that I thought would be more suitable for me, which is figure out how to mix and master myself. But then that comes with an element because I don't have my own place. I'm renting a room in a place where where honestly, I don't think me making music would be a problem. It's not going to be a problem. The only problem is myself. And that problem was that I don't want to necessarily be heard making mistakes. Like making mistakes or just being loud or just making music in general. I don't want to be heard. But the conversation was like, with myself, is like, realistically speaking, when are you going to move out? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you going to do the studio thing? For what you're trying to do, it can get very expensive. You could pull it off right now, but it's like so many other things that would require my resources that it just really wouldn't make sense. But I want to make the music. I want to do it. And so, like I told you, I've been learning how to do mixing and mastering by way of linking up with a friend of mine who's been teaching me and stuff like that. And I flat out asked him, it feels good. It feels good to be vulnerable with somebody. And so, like, he has a home studio. And I just flat out asked him about the situation. I'm like, I don't want to be heard making mistakes or making noise and stuff like that. I'm a pretty quiet guy. And ultimately, he was just like, well, and I don't want to like dis I don't want to take the power away from what he was saying. So let me just start by saying basically it was one of those things where it's like you got to get over it. Pretty much, he's like because he's in a similar situation. I mean, he's teaching you how to make quality music from home. So he's in the same situation, and he was like saying like ultimately, I don't care if people hear me mess up, if people hear me make mistakes because I have a goal. The goal it has to get done. So basically, he just cuts out some of the work, some of the unnecessary stuff by getting to it. At the end of the day, if you can complete a song, that's all that matters. And I feel like that was very powerful, and it's what I needed to hear at that very moment. You know, because I'm thinking about things like, oh, maybe I could record in the car, which is it's somewhat doable. I mean, I can't complete the song in the car, but I can get started in there. I could do that. Could do it in the shed or whatever, but I mean, it gets hot in there or whatever. Or I could do it in this fucking room if it's all that I have. And it's all that I have at this moment. You know, I have a pretty solid life, really. Aside from the mental health issues, I have a pretty solid life. I'm not broke, and my daughter is healthy, and people love me, and I got friends, and all those things. But I don't have everything that I need, but I got this fucking room. If I can make things happen from here, well, then I should do it. I can't wait until the position is just absolutely perfect to do something. No, I gotta start where I am, and I gotta be okay with people listening in, people even having critiques, whatever it is. I gotta be solidified in what it means to be me. You know, it's okay if I'm still quiet around others, if I don't really have anything to add. But if I do have something to add, then maybe I should add it. Without any fear of the outcome or whatever it is. And I'm a type of person where I could read the room. I will wait to be invited to speak or whatever it is, but I don't want to have things gone unsaid. Uh, I don't want to have stones unturned. I really do want to leave my mark in this world, and it's important that I do the shadow work and be a little bit more daring each day to incorporate what it truly means to be myself into my everyday life. There's nothing. It's not a sin. It's not taboo about it. It's not a crime. Not for me because I mean, who I am in the darkness, it just couldn't hurt anybody. It won't hurt anybody at all. It's just like there's nothing toxic about me that I'm really hiding from people. Nothing. Like you wouldn't be shocked by what you see me do in my everyday life. You wouldn't be shocked. Okay? Or maybe to some degree maybe you would be shocked because you're like, "Wow, I didn't know he could do that." Um but other than that, no. I mean, no, nothing dirty, nothing filthy, no crimes against humanity type shit, none of that. And I would just encourage you all, if you're on this journey with me, to incorporate more of what it means to be you into your everyday life. I feel like a lot of people are unhappy because of that. And some of us don't really have the option like others, but like I was thinking, like maybe at your job or whatever, it doesn't really call for you to be as organic or as authentic as you would want to be. Maybe there is some room for that, but I feel like no matter the case, to put this as simple as possible, take advantage of those opportunities that call, where you could be more of what it means to be you. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you have in your life right now, all of that could change. And, there will always be some times where it's just you and yourself. And, you got to be okay with that. And you got to understand what it means to be yourself and to be by yourself and find your powers, or which, we um, find more realization in what it means to be yourself and to get in touch with whatever you are hiding from others, or even hiding from yourself because of fear of what other people may have to say about it. At the end of the day, I mean, just look it up. I talk about it sometimes, but look at the top 5 regrets, or the top regrets of people in their deathbed, and get back to me, get back to yourself, and see if do you want this to be you? Do you want to be on your deathbed with a list of regrets, or do you want to, like, because everybody's it's going to come to an end for all of us. But do you want to be at the end of your life and you be like, I did it, I rocked the fuck out, and I'm ready to go? Or maybe you're not ready to go, but you can accept that uh, that you did the damn thing. All right, that's a lot easier to accept than you at the end of your life and you're like, man, I ain't do shit. I lived in fear and I kind of coasted through life. I gave up a long time ago. I gave up. I died in my 20s, really. They just now burying me. My body's just about to get cold. You know, I think about that a lot. And so I do the work. And so I'm going to do the work. I'm going to further the work. And another big tool when it comes to doing shadow work, and just because I just hopped right out there, and I'm going to do more studies on it, there'll be more to say about it. But something that I spoke about a couple times is just journaling. Will allow you to be completely honest with yourself. Nobody has to see it, and I write in cursive. Nobody can really read my handwriting, but nobody goes through my shit anyway. But you can be completely honest with yourself, and you can allow yourself to kind of be somewhat critical without really judging yourself, but somewhat critical over the things that you're holding yourself back from doing, all that good stuff. So it's very powerful, and I'm big on journaling anyway, so it's like it's second nature for me. And as I do the shadow work, I feel like I'm going to get even more use out of journaling, and I hope you do as well. And I hope that this video was of some use to you. I feel this need to take a different direction. I've been listening to some of my videos, and the live stream isn't working because it's just cutting up. And I understand I try to go for the simplicities, just not necessarily high quality, but I don't think that's really up to my standards. And so I'll be doing more videos like this, and I'm thinking maybe I'll even take it a step further, having a bigger production, but I'm not sure because I'm just working on so many other things right now that I think it's just best to get the information out to you as fast as possible. And I'm sure a lot of y'all could understand, and a lot of y'all are just fine with that. And so I appreciate you all, man. Thanks a lot.